Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm really glad you're joining us today because we are looking at something of just staggering global proportions.
Yeah, the sheer scale of this it's hard to wrap your head around.
It really is. We are zooming in on the global fallout on day 10 of the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran.
And just to give you a quick sense of our source stack for today, we are pulling from a really wide array of breaking news reports, live military updates, global market data, and geopolitical analyses.
Right.
All of which were published today, Monday, March 9th, 2026.
But before we jump into the details, we
Right.
need to establish a really crucial ground rule for you, our listener.
Yes, absolutely. The sources we're looking at today contain highly charged political and military actions. I mean, they involve multiple global powers, the U.S. political spectrum, you name it.
Exactly.
So we want to make it explicitly clear right up front that neither of us is taking a side here. We are not endorsing any of the viewpoints or political rhetoric in these articles.
Not at all.
Our mission is simply to act as your impartial guides, helping you understand the facts, the claims, and the data exactly as they appear in the original source material.
Yeah, because our goal with this deep dive is to cut through the fog of war. We want to extract the vital facts and help you connect the dots between the military strikes on the ground, the skyrocketing oil prices, and those totally unexpected geopolitical ripple effects impacting your world right now.
There's a lot to cover.
There is. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the stark contrast between the military reality and the political rhetoric. Because if you look at the statements coming out of the U.S. today, the administration is painting a very specific picture.
They are.
President Donald Trump has described the past 10 days as a short-term excursion. He actually told a reporter that he considers the war to be very complete, pretty much.
Right.
But do the numbers coming out of the Pentagon actually support that level of definitive messaging?
Well, the statistics they're releasing to back up that claim are they're substantial.
Yeah.
According to the administration's data, the U.S. and Israel have struck 5,000 targets since the war began on February 28th.
5,000.
Yeah, 5,000. And the specific focus has been crippling Iran's drone manufacturing. The president claims they've effectively reduced Iran's overall missile and drone capability to 10% or less.
Wow.
He even stated that Iran's navy is gone, citing that 46 ships have been sunk. So the overarching narrative from Washington is overwhelming rapid technological dominance.
So they're projecting total victory, but warfare always carries an unpredictable cost. Are there caveats to these mission-accomplished claims within their own messaging?
There are. And the primary caveat actually comes from the president's subsequent statements. Despite that confident tone, he also stated, "We haven't won enough."
Right, I saw that.
And he issued a severe warning regarding the Strait of Hormuz, stating that if Iran blocks those shipping lanes, the U.S. will strike them 20 times harder.
Which implies Iran still has the capability to disrupt global transit.
Exactly. It's an acknowledgement of lingering risk.
We also need to look at the toll this is taking on the U.S. side. I mean, the costs are really mounting.
They are. The U.S. military has now lost 11 MQ-9 Reaper drones.
11 of them.
Yeah, and these are highly advanced. Losing 11 equates to over $330 million in just 10 days.
That's just the hardware. The human cost is so much heavier.
It is. 7 U.S. service members have been killed so far. Today, the Pentagon identified the 7th casualty as 26-year-old Sergeant Benjamin N. Pennington, killed in Saudi Arabia.
It's just tragic. Now, when you look across the aisle to Tehran, how does their strategic messaging compare to Washington's timeline?
It's a complete divergence.
Yep.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, is publicly claiming they are fully equipped to continue an intense war for at least 6 months.
6 months is staggering compared to a short-term excursion.
What's fascinating here is how that military disconnect is playing out alongside a profound leadership shakeup inside Iran.
Right, because on the very first day of the war, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed.
Yeah.
And now, just 10 days later, his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, has just been confirmed as the new supreme leader.
Which isn't just a simple succession, it's the ultimate cementing of the IRGC's grip on the country. His confirmation signals Iran is doubling down on a hardline military strategy.
Which explains that 6-month timeline. They're telegraphing endurance.
Precisely.
And the global reactions to his appointment perfectly illustrate the fractured state of international diplomacy. Israel has openly threatened to target the new leader.
And in the U.S., Trump expressed disappointment, calling the choice a mistake, and comparing it to Venezuela.
Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin took a completely different approach,
Yeah, he sent a telegram congratulating Mojtaba, reaffirming Moscow's support.
which is a direct signal to Washington. And speaking of that, Trump and Putin actually spoke by phone today.
They did. Trump stated Putin wants to be helpful in the Middle East,
To which Trump responded that Putin could be more helpful by ending the Ukraine war.
which highlights how deeply intertwined these global theaters are. And regarding Ukraine, there's a development that flips the traditional script entirely.
Yeah, this part of the sources blew my mind. Iranian-made Shahed drones are being used to target U.S. bases in the Middle East. These are the same drones Russia uses against Ukraine.
Right, and because of that overlap, Ukrainian President Zelensky is actually sending Ukrainian drone interceptors and experts to help defend American military bases in Jordan.
It's a stunning reversal. Ukraine is deploying its battle-tested experts to protect American troops from Iranian weapons.
The logic is tactical. Ukrainian forces have spent years studying the vulnerabilities of Shahed drones. Their real-world experience is highly valuable in the desert right now.
Let's shift gears a bit and look at how this is hitting the markets, because this affects you, the listener, whether you have a retirement account or just drive a car.
The market panic today was intense.
Japan's Nikkei fell over 5%.
South Korea's Kospi plummeted 6%, which actually triggered a mandatory trading halt to prevent a free fall.
And U.S. markets slid 1.3%. The driving force behind this anxiety is oil.
Energy access, yeah. Brent crude briefly hit $119.50 a barrel.
The highest since the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. And U.S. gas averages just hit $3.48 a gallon.
Because a fifth of the world's oil travels through the Strait of Hormuz.
Which is completely paralyzed by the threat of Iranian attacks right now.
Exactly. Commercial tankers are refusing to transit because the physical risk and insurance premiums are just too high.
Now, Energy Secretary Chris Wright and President Trump are assuring the public this is temporary. They're citing 400 million gallons in the U.S. Strategic Reserve.
But mathematically, 400 million gallons is just a shock absorber. It's not a permanent substitute if Tehran's 6-month campaign materializes.
While the economic toll is measured in percentages, the human and environmental costs are just devastating. The casualty reports outline a grim reality.
At least 12,230 killed in Iran.
Nearly 400 in Lebanon, with 700,000 displaced.
And 15 in Israel.
There's also that heartbreaking detail of the preliminary U.S. assessment showing the U.S. likely bombed an Iranian girls' school in error. A report Trump says he is willing to live with.
The devastation extends beyond the blast zones into severe environmental crises, too.
Yeah, the toxic fallout.
After Israeli strikes on fuel depots like Agdasia and Sharon, Tehran, a city of 10 million people, is covered in toxic smoke.
Residents are reporting black rain falling from the sky. They say the air is unbreathable, leaving their skin burning. Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
The shift toward infrastructure warfare.
Exactly. The water wars. In the Gulf, desalination plants turn seawater into drinking water. They're the backbone of civilization there.
And Bahrain has accused Iran of hitting one of their primary plants.
While Iran accuses the U.S. of hitting a plant on Qasem Island, cutting off water to 30 villages.
This raises an important question. What happens when military tactics expand to target the fundamental survival infrastructure of civilians?
In a desert, that's an existential threat.
It transforms a military conflict into a regional humanitarian catastrophe.
And it perfectly illustrates how this is spilling over. Iran isn't just fighting the U.S. and Israel. They are launching missiles at the UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia.
NATO forces even had to intercept an Iranian ballistic missile over Turkey,
prompting the U.S. to evacuate non-emergency staff from its consulate in Adana. And Macron is in Cyprus declaring an Iranian drone attack, an attack on all of Europe.
The ripples are everywhere.
But amidst all this geopolitical chaos, there's a highly memorable human interest story.
The Iranian national women's soccer team.
Yes, 5 players from the team, who were labeled traitors by Iranian TV for not singing the national anthem, have fled their hotel at the Asian Cup in Australia.
They are actively seeking asylum.
And President Trump has publicly urged Australia to grant them that asylum, offering to take them into the U.S. if Australia refuses.
It's a profound crossover of human spirit and global diplomacy.
So, what does this all mean? We've covered divergent military timelines, shifting leadership, economic choke points, toxic rain, and athletes seeking asylum.
To synthesize this, we are looking at a conflict with massive strategic contradictions. The U.S. projects technological dominance, while Iran's newly consolidated leadership prepares for a war of attrition.
And global economies are held hostage by a single shipping strait.
Right. But the most significant takeaway is how the boundaries of war have expanded to include the very infrastructure of daily life.
Hmm.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
we have to look at how these events are scrambling the traditional world order.
Leaving you, the listener, with a profound question to mull over. As we see Ukrainian forces defending American bases in the Middle East and NATO intercepting missiles bound for Turkey,
Exactly.
we have to ask, how will this 10-day conflict permanently rewrite the rulebook of global military alliances? When the dust settles, will the traditional borders of allies and enemies ever look the same again?
The answer to that will likely define the next decade.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's deep dive. We encourage you to keep your curiosity alive and stay tuned to how these rapidly shifting events continue to unfold.